Hey class, so in this video we're going to be looking at animation presets and effects that we can apply to our text. We'll also be looking at how we can preview our animation presets in Adobe Bridge as well. Let's get started. So where we left off was we opened our text composition, so I'm going to double click on that. And remember, I can move through my texts, my compositions by clicking on the tabs. I have my Hello Kitten text here, and I had gone to my layer and converted it to editable text. Cool, so now I'd like to add some effects and presets. The first place I can access effects and presets is up at the top menu, so under Effects, and also under Animation and Animation Presets. So under effects, all of our effects are listed. They're categorized, so you can find things that are under distortion, for example, under mattes, under noise and grain, etc. So this is a good way of accessing. Also under animation, you can find your animation presets. You can click Browse Presets, which we'll do in a minute. You can also go to your keyframe assistant under the animation. So we'll be looking at eases later, and converting audio to keyframes. That type of thing is all available under this animation menu. All right, so that's one way of finding things. The other ways to find your effects and presets is in this right-hand menu. And what's nice about this is that if you find your effects and presets menu, if it's not listed, you can also go to Window and make sure this is checked. But there's a little search bar here, so I can search out for things that maybe say text. And then scroll down and see, everything that has text in it, which is nice. So this little search feature is incredibly helpful, and we'll be definitely using that from time to time. So those are the two ways. There's one way that you can browse your effects and presets, because you're not going to know, and to be honest, I don't know what every single one of these effects and presets does without seeing it first. So let's go up to Animation and click on Browse Presets. And I'm going to have my text layer selected. So let's grab that Hello Kitten and Browse Presets. And that's going to pull up Adobe Bridge. If you don't have Adobe Bridge on your computer, you can download it by going to your Adobe icon and checking out All Apps and downloading Bridge. And that will enable you to be able to preview all of these presets. So what's really nice is that there's a bunch of different options, so like image special effects. So it'll show you about light leaks. Go back to presets. There's sound effects, there's shape. But the one that we want right now is text. So let's click on that and double click. And there's a ton of different options again for everything. What we really want to do is check out these animate ins and animate outs right now. And also we can look at expressions. So if we check our animate ins, because we want our text to fall in, just click on one and you can see the preview of what this is to the right. So this just fades up characters. This allows words to just fly in with a twist. Fly in from the bottom, fade up by words, random word shuffles in, slide down by character, random shuffles. So there's just a ton of options, and I would really like for you to check these out and just kind of think to yourself, where would I use this particular effect? Why would this option make sense, or when would this option make sense? This is one that I actually ended up using, is this raining characters in. But there's a couple more that I wanted to show you. Typewriter is incredibly useful. This is probably one of the most used effects that you'll see, typewriter. And it just brings up each letter individually. It's really nice. And then there's a decoder. So this kind of shows multiple letters before it settles on the final letter. So the decode is kind of interesting. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different options for text, and this is the animate in. So I'm going to use this raining characters. So if I just double click on that, it instantly applies that effect to my text. So now let's just hit play. So that's return, or sorry, spacebar. And you can see my hello there kitten is automatically animated in for me. Now what's nice too about this is it sets the keyframes. Keyframes are values of when to start, when to stop. And you can see the keyframes that are important to this animation by selecting the layer and pressing the letter U. If you press U twice, it will open and then shut your layers. So you can see here I have 2 of these keyframes on my timeline. I can make this animation happen faster or slower, or start later by clicking and then clicking and dragging. So let's take a look. So this should give me a tiny bit of blankness, and then they fall into place here, and the animation is done at 0.4 seconds. If I would like that animation to be done a little later, I can just click and drag on the end keyframe. And if I want the animation to happen much faster, I can click and drag it. So let's take a look at that. So now that just happens really fast. So it's up to you how you would like this to fall into place. If your animation wasn't applied directly this way, you can also go to your effects and presets, type in raining characters in, click it, and then drag it onto your layer like that. You can apply effects on top of effects, which can also create some really cool effects. All right, so for the next part, we want to do the My Name Is. So I'm going to go to that layer and click on it. And for this one, I'm just going to do a really quick fade in. So I'm going to position my cursor somewhere near the start of this. And if I go to My Name Is and type T, that'll bring up, for T for transparency, that'll bring up my opacity menu. So I could also access this through my properties menu, which is really helpful. So if I wanted to, scale this or rotate or whatever, I can do that. I'm going to click this little stopwatch. So this means that the stopwatch sets my frames as keyable. So now if I change these values in time, then it will automatically make a keyframe for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is set this opacity to 0 because I want it to fade up. And then I'm just going to click and drag my timeline just maybe half a second. I want this kind of to be snappy. And click here and drag and change this value to 100. So that just means I'm going to fade in real quick. Perfect. All right, and then let's go a little later, say 8 seconds. And wherever I position my timeline is where my effect is going to be applied. So it is helpful for you to start off by positioning your time indicator where you want it. So let's select my layer. So the My Name Is, and let's go to Animation, Browse Presets, go to Text, Animate Out. And you can see there's a bunch of great options. There's like this encoder fade out, decode, flicker out is quite nice. Random fly off has little letters flying off. You can also have slide out by line, which is quite nice. Slide below or slide off by word. I'm going to do that one. Let's give it a shot. So double click it and that will apply it. Or again, I could go to my main menu over to the right. I think I clicked Effects and Presets, and choose it here and drag it. All right, so because I did have that U already selected, I can see some keyframes, but I'm just going to close this and press U one more time. And now I'll see my keyframe for everything sliding off. Great, and so I can make this faster or slower depending on my timing. So let's go back to my main composition and see how it's looking so far. Okay, so just hit spacebar to play. All right, so I think I want that to happen a little bit slower, so I don't want my my words to start flying off until probably around 10 seconds. And I don't want the last one to go until maybe 11 and a half. So the kitten is just slightly behind. So I'm going to open up my composition again one more time. Double click it. And let's just grab these. So click and drag, so that's a little later. Maybe have this. There we go. Okay. So let's just double check that. There we go. That's better. All right, so please feel free to play around with all of these different animation presets and have fun applying ones that you like. You can also go into your layers and you can change adding a background color, a different background color if you like, by going to Layer, New, and Solid. That will enable you to put like a solid colored backdrop, which you can then, change the size of. And you can add that underneath here. So feel free to play around with that if you're not a big fan of the orange. And then I'll talk about rendering in the next video, and that's it. So in this video, just to summarize, we looked at how to apply effects and presets, how to browse presets, how to add keyframes, and how to adjust keyframes. And we applied them to our text in the composition within a composition. All right, thanks class.